Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to repair a cracked iPad screen using the iFixit guide and tools. Let's get started. We're going to heat up that left edge 2 minutes, and then we're going to try to pick away at the edge here, see if it actually lifted up. It didn't really lift up, the adhesive was too tight. So now I'm kind of picking at where it is kind of cracked a little bit better and see if I can punch a hole into it. I got a chunk. So now I'm going to just start working around with the picks along that left side the best as I can. You could use a clamp for this, but unfortunately I don't have that anti-clamp. I just had the regular clamps and they just don't work. These anti-clamps do not work at all. So keep separating the adhesive the best you can. I was just getting hit with every roadblock ever. The adhesive just did not want to come. I'm not sure why. So I just keep working the picks all the way up and down that left side, and I get hit with strong adhesive here or strong adhesive there, and it just doesn't want to come out. Whatever adhesive they use is the best adhesive I've ever seen in my life. Working the corners is the worst. And these picks are just gonna keep that suspended there. Trying to heat up that top edge so I can start working around that corner, but there's just no getting around those corners. I'm not sure why. I'm just picking apart little pieces of glass now, and I'm gonna take this clamp with a bunch of tape because the clamps don't work, and I'm gonna see if I can use that to help me lift. Just working around that corner, working. I'm getting further along, and I am getting little bits and pieces of glass everywhere, so like watch your eyes and wear safety glasses if you can. But it is just not working. And then I think ultimately I just rip it. I'm gonna rip this thing off pretty much. I'm trying to protect the LCD underneath. You want to really careful, and where that pick just was, you want to be really careful right there because there's a lot of ribbon cables. You want to be especially careful around that home button. That home button is paired with the iPad. You need that home button. So I'm looking at the damage there that I've done, and that digitizer for sure is broken. The ribbon's broken as well, but the home button is spared, and everything looks good. Now I'm just picking away at some glass on every bit. So basically I'm skipping like all these steps by ripping that screen off. It just wasn't working with the heat and the picks and everything. So still just working glass off. You want to get every little bit and piece of glass as much as possible. Again, being careful around the home button, being careful around the ribbon cables around that home button. They're embedded in that adhesive, and that adhesive is really good. So you just want to go slow, work it. I'm working it with the blue tool that you get from iFixit. I'll also use the sponger and the tweezers soon enough. Okay, so once you get to this step where you have the digitizer off, you want to get the home button off the digitizer so you can start working it off. Yeah, and you want to be careful with that digitizer now because it can scratch that LCD screen, and you want that screen to stay unblemished as much as possible. You can see little glass shards and stuff like that. Those will clean off just fine. You kind of blow them off or dump them off, but you do not want to rub those in. So be careful with that screen. The screen's very expensive part, and replacement sucks. So chipping away at the little bits and pieces. This adhesive is so strong. I think if I used a heat gun, that would have been a better way to go, but I just had the microwavable warm-up heat pad thing from iFixit. Working around the home button area, I'm just trying not to damage any components that I do see. Some components are exposed right there, so you just want to be careful. The home button is on the digitizer. I think I'm gonna rip it off, but I gotta be really careful of that cable. Cable's real fragile. Now you got glass pieces stuck to that cable. I don't know what this adhesive is. It's so strong, so bad. Working the corners. Okay, so now I have screws exposed. It's now time to remove the corner screws of the LCD screen. You're gonna unfasten it, and then I start using the sponger and the picks to kind of lift up on the screen. You want to lift evenly around the screen. There's no adhesives underneath. There's a little bit, I think, around the screw holes, but not much. But you don't want to crack or bend or torque it. So I'm just going to use the picks and the sponger to kind of work it up a little bit, get a pick underneath, and keep it like that. That way I can pull up on everything evenly and all at once. Then you're gonna lift up, and there should be a disconnection there, but you're gonna have to unscrew these 3 screws and get at its ribbon cable. Its ribbon cable is intact, luckily. There's a top plate and there's 3 screws. Put your screws in a place you can find them. Now use the battery separator to disconnect the battery. You don't have to pull up a whole lot. It just needs to wedge in there, and then the battery will be disconnected. Take off the remaining plate and pop that ribbon cable off. Now put that in a safe place. You don't want that going anywhere where it could get scratched or damaged. All right, now we're gonna start working on the other ribbon cables for the home button. You gotta be super careful with this home button ribbon cable. It's very delicate. So you're gonna push up on that locking tab, and you're gonna take a pair of tweezers. I have a pair of tweezers here. And I'm just gonna pull very gently away from that locking tab. There we go. Now you're gonna pop out these 2 connectors. One's for both are for the digitizer, which I severed. So luckily I didn't sever the home, but I did sever these 2. But luckily the digitizer was broken, so I didn't need the digitizer anymore. I'm gonna take off this shock absorbing pad. Just be really careful around the ribbon cable. And then we're gonna peel the ribbon cable off. You're gonna do that as calmly and carefully as possible. You don't want to break the ribbon cable. And with that, you just peel it off a little bit and we should be good. There's the home button, and the ribbon cable is still intact. It looks good. All right, gonna kind of work on the home button a little bit. It has glass shards on it. You want to peel all those off. And then gonna work all this other glass out of the frame of the iPad right now. I don't know what adhesive was used, but it is so strong in there, and you don't want to nick or hit anything such as the batteries or the Wi-Fi antennas or anything like that. A lot of glass around this home button, and it's a very small piece of equipment, and it's very easy that you could snap its plastic rigging underneath. So you just work it slow, start warming it up. I'm using my fingers a lot more than I am tools here, so I'm probably getting glass shards in my fingers, but you got to be careful. All right, so this is the digitizer. It came from iFixit. It's a replacement part. And I'm measuring up the home button, seeing that it's gonna fit properly. I'm gonna plug that home button back in and have it sitting on the side there. Make sure that it's gonna seat and sit, and that the cable is still gonna be lined up. You wanna make sure that you're gonna line up that cable properly. I'm gonna put a little silicone adhesive on the bottom, just to kind of season up that area for when that thing sits down in there. Really, I'm gonna attach it to the digitizer. I'm taking alcohol here and I'm trying to clean off some of that adhesive, real strong adhesive. I put that shock absorber pad back in. Now I'm gonna connect the digitizer. Make sure you have something to stand it up whenever you do get it connected. Otherwise, it's just gonna fall down, and that ribbon cable is gonna be stressed, and those connectors will come undone. So I use the iFixit box here. And then I'm gonna clean the LCD screen with a microfiber cloth. I made sure to blow it off with air to get rid of all the glass shards, and then I didn't really use anything else, just a little microfiber cloth to kind of get it clean. And then you're gonna connect that. You're gonna replace the top lid there with 3 screws. You're gonna remove the battery, and now I'm gonna do a test. I'm gonna see if this thing works, but I need to charge it. So I charge it for a second and get it started up. LCD screen still looks good. I think I have one little scratch on it. Digitizer seems to be working. I try to touch the actual LCD screen. That doesn't work, obviously, because that's why you have the digitizer. And I'm kind of messing around with certain apps and stuff like that, making sure that I have most of my functionality still. And it looks to be that everything looks good. And the screen actually does still look good. There is one scratch in the lower right-hand corner, but I kind of buffed on it a little bit, try to take it down a little bit. But everything seems to be working like it's supposed to, and home button's working, and the screen's on, the screen's bright, cameras are on. All right, so now we're going to prep it to be put back in. You want to put that battery screw back in so the battery's nice and tight. Set the LCD screen down over the 4 holes and screw in those 4 screws around the corners. You could put a little adhesive around there. I don't think I did, but I'm not too worried about it. Use that microfiber cloth to clean off that screen again because you might have touched it. You can see in the right-hand corner there, I did scratch it, so I'm trying to buff it out a little bit there. I think I used a little bit of 70% isopropyl just very quickly right there in that little region. Okay, now you gotta work this adhesive off of the digitizer, and it's really hard right there next to the ribbon cables because you can't get a good angle on it, but you're gonna work all that adhesive covering off so that way it exposes the sticky adhesive before you put this thing down. Then you're gonna put the home button back onto the digitizer so that way it's nice and lined up, and then you're gonna line up all the corners. If you don't line it up, it's gonna suck to try to take that thing back off. So line it up really well and put pressure all the way around. Make sure that it's on tight. And then now we're just going through a functionality test. You can see it rotates still. The screen looks good. I can touch everything. Home button's gonna work here in a second. I can see that scratch a little bit, but it's really not that bad. But you wanna avoid that as much as possible. Take the cover off, there we go. And I'm gonna use these 2 clamps, and I'm gonna have those on for like 10 to 20 minutes. Gonna put that somewhere where it's not gonna fall down. Like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.